Hi everyone! I'm starting a new season of tomato reviews, and first of all, I want to tell you about a new thing. And not just a new thing, but a tomato that drove me crazy in a good sense of the word throughout the season. How it happened and what kind of tomato it is, you'll find out right now. Tomato Express is on its way. Take your seats, we're getting started. Meet Rebel Starfighter Kayleigh Anne, an anthocyanin yellow beauty and a variety you can't help but fall in love with. An amazingly bright and tasty tomato that grabbed my attention throughout the season. It could not be otherwise because its breeding was carried out by a man who had previously discovered masterpieces of tomato flavor and appearance. If you have heard of such varieties as Rebel Starfighter Prime or Rebel Starfighter VT16, then you are already familiar with the Star Wars tomato line. And Rebel Starfighter Kayleigh Anne is nothing but a continuation of this rather new but already legendary tomato series. There are not so many varieties in it yet, but they all deserve a separate story. First of all, Kayleigh Anne appeared to me as a very tall tomato with a huge energy of growth, and already at the end of July, when growing in 2 stems, the plants easily overcame the mark of 7 feet or 2 meters and continued to strive upward. And even despite the hot July when many varieties dropped flowers and did not set fruit, Rebel Starfighter Kayleigh Anne felt more than comfortable. And although the tomatoes are of medium size, there were a lot of them on the plants, which is even a little strange because the variety is bred in a region with a cool climate and it would seem that it should not like the heat. However, it seems that this starfighter is not one of those who can be frightened by such trifles as the vagaries of the weather. Not a single fruit was affected by apical rot, and despite the fact that the plants are strongly foliated, it turned out to be resistant to leaf mold, which is especially important for me personally when growing tomatoes in the greenhouse. Fruits are unusually beautiful, bright light yellow color with a large amount of anthocyanin, and their shape varies from rounded to heart-shaped. Tomatoes can be stored on the branches for quite a long time, but when picking them, it's easy to separate them from the stalk. All in all, Rebel Starfighter Kayleigh Anne is the discovery of the summer, a real tomato with a mark of quality, which can be given a residence in my garden for many years to come. Perhaps at this point I should pause to tell you about the origin of this variety, but I think no one can tell you about it better than the author himself, Russ Crowe of Vermont, United States.
Hey Alex, it's Russ here, just to drop you a little video regarding Rebel Starfighter Kayleigh Anne. I made this cross several years ago, and it's a cross of Rebel Starfighter Prime to the white cherry tomato called Snow White. Snow White cherry tomato has always been a very productive cherry tomato for us in Vermont. It also happens to be my daughter's very most favorite cherry tomato. It's a thin-skinned white tomato that, like I said, that my daughter loves. My hope was to create a small white heart-shaped tomato that was kind of fun, maybe had flavors similar to Snow White, but the antho coloration, that striping of Prime. I never really did find small kind of heart-shaped cherry tomato. I only found these saladette and perhaps larger sized tomatoes, and they happen to have the flavor that mirrored Snow White pretty close, at least to my daughter's specifications. She loved it, and as we've talked about, anything that I make that she loves and gives the stamp of approval for is something that I generally keep. So it wasn't the direction I was hoping for, but it definitely was the direction she wanted to head in, and it seemed to stabilize in something that's pretty delicious and fun to look at. Thanks again. Talk to you soon. See ya.
I only have to add that this variety was named by Russ after his daughter, and I think those who understand how fathers feel about their daughters will agree that this could only be a tomato that truly deserves it. Looking ahead, I'll tell you that Kayleigh Anne is not the only novelty in the Star Wars tomato line that I've grown this season, and there are many more pleasant surprises waiting for you, believe me. But this is the one I decided to show you first. As for the weight of the fruits, it was in the neighborhood of 3.5 ounces or 100 grams, which with their number I was more than satisfied. But the main thing, of course, was still hidden inside. Until Rebel Starfighter Kayleigh Anne appeared in front of me in all its brilliance. The flesh is dense, light yellow, sometimes with subtle pink tones. The taste is very good, bright with acidity, sweet, juicy. Without further ado, this is a very delicious variety. Acidity is also present in the aftertaste, and it only complements the main flavor profile of this tomato. And of course, its yield, for which I am immensely grateful, especially considering the fact that these tomatoes are quite dense and therefore suitable for the making of pickled tomatoes, which I make every year. Usually at this point I start to summarize and finish the review, but not this time. The reason is that when I received a letter with seeds from a breeder in the United States, in addition to the light yellow Rebel Starfighter Kayleigh Anne, there were also seeds of its pink version, discovered by Ross in the process of stabilizing the variety. And of course, I'll show you this tomato as well. Rebel Starfighter Kayleigh Anne Pink retained all the same qualities, namely strong growth. Its height in early August was also well over 7 feet or 2 meters, high yield, with the only difference that the fruits were pink with orange stripes and larger, and the shape of the fruit varies from rounded to heart-shaped. The plant is just as powerful, strongly foliated and not afraid of heat. This offshoot of the variety is quite new and perhaps not too stable yet, but I certainly collected the seeds, as well as an abundant harvest, which I harvested with enviable regularity. I liked the tomatoes so much that I even used its pollen to cross-pollinate one of the dwarf tomatoes to create a new hybrid. Kayleigh Anne Pink tomatoes weighed from 4 to 11 ounces or 130 to over 300 grams, but the majority of them were just in the 5 ounces or 130 to 150 gram range. The flesh with bright pink tones, the flavor is no less memorable, sweet with a noticeable and long-lasting acidity. Yes, how great it is when a breeder pays special attention not only to the appearance, but also to the taste of his creations, thanks to which we get the opportunity to grow such masterpieces of the tomato world. There are more and more Starfighters, and it can't help but make me happy. Very soon I will tell you about other new items from the Star Wars family. And believe me, I have a lot to tell you about. For example, about this anthocyanin beauty that struck me in the heart. But I won't get ahead of the story, you'll soon see for yourself. Thanks for watching. I'll leave the link to Ross seeds in the description below when they are available. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe and of course, love tomatoes, grow tomatoes. This is the Lucky Garden channel and see you soon.